They're running on ending no-fault divorce. Dude, listen. All I'm going to say is this. Republicans can find a wedge issue, and even if it's not immediately popular, they can keep running it over and over again. And because of how powerful their media is, and because of obviously the issues that they run on are still corresponding to like prior forms of oppressive constructs, because you can't do the counter to this in a socialist sense. But Republicans can run on like more police brutality, please, for example, when police brutality already exists. And if they keep doing it over and over again, and if they keep running on it over and over again, they, first of all, they can basically get all matter of legislation through the Republican-run state legislatures. Then they can defeat those cases in the courts that they've padded with Republican judges. They can take it all the way up to the Supreme Court and basically solidify that position. They can do all of that without a single genuine referendum on the matter. This does not mean that the Americans are fully and wholeheartedly on board. It just simply means that the Republican Party has the capacity to do these sorts of things, and they will not get punished for it. Okay? That's it. And there's not really much you can do about it. The perfect example about this trans shit is not necessarily the trans stuff or the gay stuff. The perfect parallel is abortion. Nobody wanted it except for a few psychopaths in the Republican base. And they did it. It took 40 years, but they did it. They padded up the decks. They padded the fucking courts with Republican psychopaths. And they got a conservative supermajority in the Supreme Court of the United States. And they did it. And they suffered electoral backlash due to this action because they went too far. Who were they doing this for? We knew that it was only 25% of the country that actually wanted this. 75% of the country has consistently polled against criminalizing abortion. And yet they did it. They lied about it. They said it's well-established precedent. We will not touch it. It's a super precedent. And yet they still did it. Okay? I can't believe I'm going to use a Yakuza reference here, but there is a side mission in Yakuza 0 where there's a guy getting his ass beat because he wants to add new taxes. And I believe Majima, I think it's a Majima side mission, or it might be a Kiryu side mission. But he has a conversation with the guy where he basically says, just raise the taxes 5% first, and then next year you can raise it 8%. And the year after you can raise it by 10%. Because once you raise the taxes by 5%, people get used to it. And then when you raise it again, well, now you're fighting on raising it another additional 3% because they already established that the 5% tax increase happened already. Same goes for this particular instance. Abortion is fought on the grounds of criminalization of abortion. There's already well-established precedent on this. And then all of a sudden, when you unwind that, now the conversation shifts over to, well, you know, maybe we'll allow victims of incestual rape to be able to get an abortion if they see fit. But the conversation was supposed to be about, you know, protecting women's rights to bodily autonomy. That was what the main conversation was. That was a prevailing narrative. That's what we were supposed to be fighting on and maintaining that right and protecting that right. And now it has moved on to maybe we shouldn't arrest doctors. And then one side's like, no, we should arrest doctors. Maybe we should let women with ectopic pregnancies get a specific carve out so they can get an abortion, because the difference between a miscarriage and an abortion miscarriage, like a medically induced miscarriage, is like very little. Okay? They moved on. And the same thing will happen, and the same thing is happening in the absence of any kind of like genuine populist interest in the matter, the same thing is happening to trans people. And once they are well established and once they've done what they are supposed to, which is eradicate transness from public life and discontinue HRT for consenting adults, okay? Once they are able to successfully stop certain medical procedures from happening because they see fit, they will move back to gay people. And then if they actually succeed with gay people, then they will move back to interracial marriage. This is how fascism works. Obviously, not every regular old Republican is like a diehard ideological fascist, but it doesn't matter. That's just how it works. You just slowly come for whatever civil liberties you can unroll and unwind and destroy, and then you move on to the next one slowly but surely. That's just how it goes. Okay? That's where we're at, and you can omegalol this all you want, but there is historical precedent for this. If you know anything about World War II and the lead up to World War II and Nazis gaining prominence, it's not like they did this overnight. Okay? That's why everyone always uses the frogs in the boiling water analogy. You do not know that the water is boiling until it's too late. Does no one find it suspicious that the fascist movement in Germany had the exact same enemies that the Republicans have and the conservatives have here in the United States of America? Does that not strike anyone as even remotely odd? Obviously, I'm speaking to an audience of fellow travelers here who are very well aware of this reality, but that's a question that I would like to find out about from those who do not fit this same bill. I want people to openly say that they have certain agreements with Nazis, because that's what you are saying. When you believe that books that pertain information about gay people or trans people should not be in schools, you are agreeing with early era Nazi Germany. They did that. They did that exact same thing. The first book burning, the very famous first book burning that has been heavily documented, was books that exclusively were about medical research into transgender people. That's the first book burning that the Nazis did. This is a very conveniently left out part of this conversation. The Institute of Royal Sexual Research in Berlin would be a century old if it hadn't fallen victim to Nazi ideology. True, but their thought leaders and talking heads have become exponentially more militant and fascistic, basically leading them down the garden path. So what it should stay banned. Okay, openly say that you think the Nazis did a good job by banning trans medical research. Say it. Then say it. Yeah. Just say it. You might not agree with everything that the Nazis did, but you certainly agree with this one, right? And you can turn around and be like, well, Nazis drank water. Does that mean I drink water and that's a good thing? Yeah, there you go. You agree. You agree with Nazis. That's it. I'm glad that you at least openly say that. At least you're not cowardly enough to admit it. Have fun with that. Ultimately, we know how that ended. And I wish the same ending for you. Considering it's objectively worse to be trans than cis, not sure why you wouldn't want to keep that information from impressionable children. Because you don't turn trans. You are trans. That's number one. And two, that argument was used towards gay people all the fucking time as well. And it's still a silly one. And now if you were to say that about gay people, most people would probably look at you and go, that's just weird. Why are you saying that? Yes, children are impressionable. When you give them textbooks featuring trans and queer figures, you're not actually saying, oh, you should be trans. You're going to become trans. It just makes it easier for people to accept that reality if they are that. Okay? Being more accepting is not a bad thing. That's it. Also, the overwhelming majority of works of art across every medium is still heteronormative. So don't worry. You'll still be heteronormative. Like, you'll still be het. You know? It's fine. If people could be turned gay, I'd be the gayest motherfucker on the planet. Think about how gay my audience is. I live in West Hollywood. There's just like gay shit year round. It's like Pride year round over here. You know what I mean? It's not how this works at all. Steel Puncher, I was extremely transphobic when I started watching you. It didn't take much time for me to change my mind. I think other people can change too. Yeah. But what if my kid sees trans shit in school and becomes nice and not mean to trans people? What them, bucko? Exactly. Saying you don't want your kid to see any kind of like gay material because you don't want them to turn gay is like saying you don't want your school to allow people to use their left hands if kids are left-handed. Okay? Oh, but life will be much harder for the left-handed. We got to force them to use their right hand. And we got to punish them if they're left-handed. We got to write legislation that makes it illegal to be left-handed. It's that simple. It's that stupid. If my son sees left-handed scissors, he'll want to become left-handed, and that's somehow bad and wrong and immoral. We should really stop teaching children that it's okay to be left-handed. What the fuck are we doing? I used to live in a different America, an America that did not allow such degeneracy, such world-shaking, world-destroying degeneracy. Western civilization has a moral rot at its heart, folks, and that is left-handedness. I guess I don't understand the profit motive. It feels like Republican legislators are choosing ideological fascism over service to capitalist class, which is surprising. No, they're not. They're not. The Republican Party, and here, I'll tie this back. I'll tie back the Republican Party's heinous attacks against the LGBT community somehow back to how the Democratic Party is wrong. That's what you're here for, right? You want me to fucking say, fuck the Democrats. Because fuck the Democrats. Because the Democrats are absolutely responsible for this as well. Why are they responsible for this? Is it because I expect them to launch a fight back and at least like have some sentiment? Like Republican politicians are talking about how fucking trans people are pedophiles pretty much left and right. Okay? Mass shootings are happening. Republicans are not shying away from saying when a trans person does a mass shooting that this is like a trans issue, right? That this is like, we got to stop trans people. They use every opportunity to keep cutting propaganda against corporate pride, against trans people, against gay people in general. Okay? I have seen no such counter propaganda from the Democratic Party. But that's not the real reason why I'm frustrated with the Democratic Party in general. Because Republicans are reactionary. Okay? And in the absence of anything to react to unwind, and that is, of course, progressive legislation that is offering economic restitution or some kind of like progressive legislation that's like protecting trans people or whatever, they are going to react by unwinding pre-existing protections that people had fought for. That's it. So because the Democrats are not trying to move society forward and progress in areas where progress is necessary, Republicans just keep taking wins and keep unwinding it back. They keep rolling it back. So the Democrats are at fault for not giving Republicans a battle. Okay? Move on. Sleeper. Should 4-year-olds decide their gender based? Oh, yeah. I wish for once people like this guy would at least have like a decent conversation. You know what I mean? We get that you're like objectively terrified of seeing rainbows, I guess. But like at least engage with like better bait. You know what I mean? Give me something, give me a talking point that you agree with that I can at least like address. Be a little bit more curious. You know what I mean? Like have the decency to at least just not fucking come in here and chirp and instead learn the talking points so you can like bring it up in the chat so I can address them. Ultimately, if you think that like there's medical transitions happening for like a 4-year-old trans person, you are objectively out of your mind. I mean, you're just incorrect. I don't know how else to address it, but you are quite literally insane. Your brain has melted. I don't know what to tell you. That's not what's going on.
Returning to the campaign.
Anyway, let's get to some celebratory news because certain things on the legal front is not so bad. You know, some fun stuff. Trump is indicted on 37 criminal counts and is slated to appear in federal court in Miami on Tuesday, lads.
President Trump returning to the campaign trail after his indictment on 37 felony criminal charges, including repeated violations of the seldom cited Espionage Act. And over the weekend, he hit the campaign trail. He took aim at the charges, called them baseless, and claimed he might even benefit from them politically. And according to our latest polling, he may be right about that. CBS News has learned in the poll released yesterday that he continues to be on solid front-runner ground in the race for the Republican nomination. 61% support among likely Republican primary voters. Robert Costa is outside the federal courthouse in Miami, where Trump will be arraigned. That is scheduled to happen tomorrow. Bob, good morning.
Good morning, Tony. Sources close to Trump's legal team tell me that when he arrives here on Tuesday, he plans to plead not guilty. And those sources say over the weekend, Trump in private was frustrated and defiant, telling advisors that even if he's convicted, he will never leave the presidential race.
As far as the joke of an indictment, it's a horrible thing.
Back on the campaign trail this weekend, former President Trump railed against the federal indictment as a political hit job.
I mean, the only good thing about it is it's driven my poll numbers way up.
Trump is facing 37 criminal charges. Among them, prosecutors say he illegally retained classified documents detailing U.S. nuclear weapons programs and details about military activity and capabilities of both the U.S. and foreign countries. Special counsel Jack Smith spoke after the indictment was unsealed.
Our laws that protect national defense information are critical to the safety and security of the United States.
USA is the only country I've seen where actually grounded legal charges against a political candidate makes them more popular. No, I think that's a consistent... No, that's not true. There are places where that happens. There are places where that happens if the sentiment on the ground is that, like, you know, there's Western influence that's like influencing the courts, that's like falsely trying to arrest or falsely trying to put forward criminal charges. Like Pakistan comes to mind. There are places like in Brazil where there's still similar reactionary attitudes where, not dissimilar to Donald Trump, I mean, similar reactionary attitudes where people will just straight up be like, oh, they're trying to come after Bolsonaro now because he's the GOAT. There are plenty of criminal politicians that are legitimately popular. I don't think that's just exclusive to the United States. I mean, speaking of criminally popular people, rest in piss, Berlusconi. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's just charisma, I think. That's usually what matters. And on the reactionary side, especially on the right-wing side, people love charismatic leaders. It doesn't really matter if they go to jail or not, really, or if they are jailed or not. That kind of stuff only impacts left-wing politicians like Lula. Lula definitely suffered from being unjustifiably prosecuted and jailed for corruption charges. It took many years to, and that narrative still exists. So I think, as is the case with most, being jailed actually only harms left-wing politicians.
And they must be enforced.
In the filing, pictures show what the indictment says are sensitive documents found in a bathroom, a public ballroom, and spilled out on a storage room floor at Trump's Florida home. During the 2016 campaign, Trump repeatedly hammered Hillary Clinton for her handling of sensitive material, and his own words are included in the indictment.
We can't have someone in the Oval Office who doesn't understand the meaning of the word confidential or classified.
On Sunday, Trump's former Attorney General Bill Barr said he...
It's so funny to see Trump, like, matching up Trump's sentiments about, throwing the book at people who mishandle classified information when he's cutting propaganda against Hillary Clinton versus what Trump is saying now is always going to be great. But it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter because everyone, and I mean everyone that likes Trump, does not care. Trump has gone to multiple rallies over the course of this weekend, and I was tracking this, and has very straightforwardly claimed that Joe Biden actually did what Trump did, which was not true, okay, and that he should be criminally punished for it, but not Trump. He has lied and said Joe Biden didn't. Joe Biden obstructed justice. He hid documents, literally talking about things that he has done on the record. None of that is true. Like, I'm no Joe Biden supporter by any means. You guys know, Jim Crow Joe. He's old. He's awful. He's demented. Let's be real. But he did collude with and collaborate and cooperate with the authorities when the authorities came to him. Same with Mike Pence. Trump, on the other hand, is quite literally claiming that Joe Brandon did the things that Trump did and he should go to jail for it. Meanwhile, he should not go to jail. Trump should not go to jail for it because it's bullshit. So it's great. It's wonderful. And his audience eats it up. They don't care. They don't care. It's more so Trump is a vector for all of their anger. This part is real. This part has not changed. He communicates their desire well, and he communicates their anger well. He owns the libs the best. 4 years of owning the libs, baby. And we saw the outcome of 4 years of owning the libs. The current economic circumstances that we exist under are a direct response from Trump basically offering corporations gigantic tax cuts at a time when their profits were sky high, and corporate consolidation was already pretty bad before Trump and kept up under Trump as well. But that kind of deregulation and the go-ahead for all of these massive corporate conglomerates created a system where they could get away with additional ridiculous and erroneous price increases that you feel like 15% inflation. That's how you feel it. You feel it in the form of inflation. You know what? Oh, here, is this it? You're right. This cancel culture shit's out of control. All these, like, you know, gay, gender non-binary college freshmen are, you know, trying to cancel Applebee's, and I kind of don't like that. It's annoying me. Okay? But it's been 8 fucking years. And especially under Donald Trump's administration, one thing that I constantly mention to a lot of Republicans, and this probably changed a lot of your minds if you were a Republican back then, was that, look, Donald Trump is president, and the supposed, like, non-binary college freshmen have done nothing. Your life still sucks. And a lot of people probably recognize that when they were like, you know, I wanted my anger. I was feeling the oppressive grip of capitalism ruin every aspect of my life. And Republicans were communicating my anger back and shifting that anger and directing it towards these red herrings like trans people, like immigration, like crime or whatever, right? But it turns out, you know, shit still sucks even though Donald Trump is president. So owning the libs was like cool for a little bit, but you used it too much. You relied on it too much. It became a crutch. So now people are just like, bro, shut the fuck up, please. Mike from PA shouts out to Pennsylvania, shouts out to Central. I don't know if this is it. Most Republicans don't feel that way from what I've seen. No, there is definitely fatigue. Like at the top of the hour, you see that there's a 3-minute ad break, and then inevitably you are fatigued by it at the top of every hour, and you're like, fuck it, I'm going to subscribe. Okay? And then you say, I'm going to subscribe for $5, but I don't have $5, so I'll subscribe for free with a Twitch Prime. But I don't even have a Twitch Prime, so I'll just sit here and wait for a gifted sub if I'm lucky enough. And here's the 3-minute ad break now. Boom. Before you know it, it comes. Okay? Here's the 3-minute ad break now. No, what I'm talking about is fatigue from constantly hearing people chirp. People don't like smarmy, annoying, woke scolds. I know that because that's how people see me all the fucking time. Which is ironic because I don't think I'm like that, and I constantly yell at leftists who are like that. But from the outside, people see me as that. Okay? That's like at the heart of, I think, a lot of the anger and resentment towards the SJW left and cancel culture. Steven Seagal official, thank you for the 5, get the subs. Okay? That's where it comes from. It's not even about like their politics or anything. It's just like, well, I'm annoyed. Shut the fuck up. I'm annoyed by hearing you all the time. You're taking away my treats, and I don't want that. And my assessment is that if Republicans become the smarmy, annoying, don't do this fun thing, don't do that fun thing, you are not allowed to enjoy it because that means you're a pedophile. If they keep doing that, then there will be fatigue towards that kind of sentiment as well. It hasn't truly come yet. That hasn't come to fruition yet. Okay? Because Republicans are doing the exact same thing. I think that clip chimp drama between Rage and you confirmed his suspicions about his community being hall monitors because of the snitch thing, too, so you're not even wrong. Yeah, I don't care. Look, I don't care. I don't give a shit. I'm done. I'm done caring about shit like that, okay? It sucks, but I don't care. Like, I'm trying to cover the fucking news. They will all inevitably come back when news-related shit happens, and they want to learn a little bit about it. And they'll shut the fuck up, and they'll sit here, and they'll learn, and then they'll remember that I'm not the fucking villain that they think I am, okay? So, ultimately, it's irrelevant. I hate, like, constantly having petty drama and petty squabbles between content creators and their fucking communities. It's so stupid. I'm trying to do news coverage, you know? I'm trying to do political analysis. Anyway. Let's move on. Glad he realizes it's arrested the stream for like a year and a half. First of all, it's been much longer than that. Secondly, I have my moments where I give up on trying to address these stupid things, but then sometimes they come up again. So, as I was stating, okay? Where was I? I forgot what I was saying. Fuck it. Let's continue with this.
He was shocked by the amount and sensitivity of the documents mentioned in the filing.
If even half of it is true, then he's toast. I mean, it's a very detailed indictment, and it's very, very damning.
Meanwhile, many of Trump's political allies defended him over the weekend.
Donald Trump, you may hate his guts, but he is not a spy. He did not commit espionage.
We gather here in North Carolina after a sad day for America.
And as for his Republican rivals in the 2024 race, many were quick to attack the Justice Department instead of the former president.
Attorney General Merrick Garland, stop hiding behind the special counsel and stand before the American people and explain why this indictment went forward.
Trump is expected.
It's so funny that this situation has basically forced the hand of every Republican person that's like running against Donald Trump and trying to cut a narrative that they're actually better for the country than Donald Trump in the primaries to sit there and just defend him. Okay? You guys are such cucks, dude. You're such pussies. Because the reality is, they're fucking terrified of the base. They're terrified of the base. If this sort of thing happened, and there was like some false charges against Bernie Sanders, for example, the media, the liberal side of the media, and the DNC would be advocating to execute Bernie Sanders collectively. There would be like all 11 of the people, even if Bernie was a front runner, the Democrats would do everything they can to manipulate the narrative and genuinely undermine the chances of the front runner if it was Bernie Sanders. Okay? But when it's Donald Trump, the Republican Party is like, no, we know that this is what the base wants. We have to be on this tightrope where we don't actually end up losing that chunk of the solidly red base of support. So we have to basically defend Donald Trump regularly. It's a cliche at this point, but yeah, Dems run away from their base, whereas Republicans run towards them. And both are bad. Both are bad. Okay? Running away from your populist base of support is and constantly telling them that like you can't do the nice things that they want, that they demand from you, even though they elected you to do those things, is bad. Running towards your base of support, if your base of support is like bloodthirsty for fucking murdering like queer teenagers or whatever, is also not good. You know what I mean? But of course, in the United States of America, we get the worst of both worlds.
Expected to travel to Miami tonight, where city officials are preparing for possible protests and bolstering security. On Tuesday, after the arraignment, Trump plans to head back to New Jersey to his golf club, where he will deliver a speech and huddle with his major donors. Gail.
All right, Bob, thank you very much.